All right.
All right, everybody, welcome to another podcast with Mike and Marcia. I'm Marcia Hawkins, your host, along with Mike Athos. And today we have a really cool show, one that I'm kind of passionate about, although I never do a podcast I'm not passionate about. But today we're going to be talking about some of the challenges for not only small business owners but large business owners, and some of the tricks and resources. And we're going to talk about the challenges. We're going to talk about the solutions and what that can mean for your business. So, Mike, welcome aboard.
Hey, Marcia, I'm excited to talk to you. You're telling me a story before we started recording this. I need to know more about this. You're blowing my mind. I mean, there's ambulances involved. There's policy reviews for insurance policies and different opportunities. And um, tell me the story. What happened yesterday? Just run through
Oh
it,
my
'cause this
gosh.
is
Yep.
wild.
Yep. So up in the Northeast right now, it is absolutely frigid. Luckily, I had many layers of clothing on. But yesterday, I had a farm review. So I specialize in farm insurance, and
Okay.
I like to get together with my farmers and go over the policies. Sometimes they buy tractors, and sometimes they have a change in their payroll, and sometimes they have drivers they need to add. The list goes on. So it's always advantageous to get together with your insurance agent on large commercial policies and farm policies and whatnot. So I had this scheduled for a couple of weeks, and I don't think that they would mind me telling the story because I didn't even share this with you. But one of the things that prompted the review was, and this is becoming more the norm than not, some companies are actually doing what's called a long-term rental, not a lease, a long-term rental on their commercial vehicles. So you can get $100,000 truck. The payment on it's going to be, 3 grand a month. They can rent it for much less. However, because my farmer had several of their policies parsed out amongst other agents, um, they had their personal stuff with another agent, and they called me and said, we realize now with this story I'm about to tell you that this is why this happened. So he had called me a couple months ago and said, "Hey, I got a little bit of a problem. So one of my employees put diesel in regular fuel, the
Oh, that
long
doesn't
term.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
does not work. hundred
that doesn't
thousand
work.
dollar truck, $48,000 worth of damage." And he said, "Hey, can you put that through my auto insurance?" And I said, "Well, I could if I had it, but I don't have it."
Oh, yeah.
So he
Wow.
had another insurance agent, and he had called them up, and he had forgotten that he had canceled his commercial auto policy a few months earlier. So I don't know what happened, but I surmise that somebody took the call at the insurance agency and just automatically issued a certificate of insurance to the car rental, truck rental place,
Okay.
and showed that they had the comprehensive on it, which is what comprehensive would cover on that. And he didn't have commercial insurance on that,
Oh,
so he had
wow.
to bite the 48,000. So he called me and said, "You need to get out here. We need to go over this, and this can never happen again."
Yeah.
So that's what prompted the farm review. Although I do go to this farm quite, I've been out there 3 or 4 times. Anyway, so I get out there, and I walked around the corner. We're in the winery section of their farm, which is cement floors, and there's stuff around. And I had my clipboard with their policies in it. And what do I do? Walk right over a dog, and boom! Next thing I know, I'm passed out. Out cold. The ambulance gets called. And it was just so crazy. I'm fine, obviously, I'm totally fine,
Yeah.
but didn't have to go to the hospital. But I was totally fine. But one thing led to another, and the initial problem was, he said, what was hard about the $48,000 and having to bite that was, he goes, "You're adding that on to an already tapped business." He goes, "We
Yeah.
struggle to make payroll every week, and we're always running on a shoestring." And I hear that a lot from not only farmers but business owners and homeowners. And owners,
I
everybody.
think it's the entire economy right now, Marcia.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
every little part of it, people are saying, "How can I save here? How can I save there? Or how can I become more efficient?" It's all about efficiency right now, and
Yeah,
yeah, people are
yeah.
struggling.
Yeah, exactly. And so, one thing led to another. And, I was explaining to them, I asked them, we got through the review and we, figured out what we needed to do. But I said to him, I said, it begs the question, if what happened to me happened to you and you did break your leg and, something
Yeah,
happened, what's going to happen? And so it was an opportunity for me to talk to them about life insurance and disability insurance because, as you know, Mike, life insurance, people think you have to die to use it, and nothing could be further from the truth. I like to use them not only for the retirement piece of it, both of these people were 45 years old. They were running the farm because the original owner had passed away. So him and
okay,
his wife are running the farm for the farmer's sister, who's
yeah,
3,000 miles away. And I said, do you have any type of retirement plan set up? No, we don't have a retirement plan set up. I'm like, oh, what about disability? I said, one of you goes down, have a heart attack, going on and on. What would you do? And they're like, oh my, they both looked at each other and said, why have we not had this conversation? So
sure.
one thing led to another. But what I took away from that was, and I think that as a business owner, you're so busy, and I don't care if you're a 30 employee small business, or you have 300 or 3,000. The challenges are all the same. My husband always had the saying, he goes, you think of people who are uber wealthy there's a person in mind, a very successful business person that lived in my area. And, the people just thought he had, endless money. And come to find out in the end, it wasn't what people thought. And
Yeah.
and he ended up passing away, and his children kind of inherited a little bit of a mess. But I remember when he was building this business out, he wanted to stick to, like, I don't know what the number was, like 5 million. It ended up being like 20 million or something like that. It went way over what he had allocated for this project. And he said, well, you know what they say, it's all in the numbers. What is, stressful for a household of four, is one number. What's stressful for a $5 million project is another level. So the bigger the number doesn't mean that your stress is less. If anything, it's even worse
It
because
could,
those
yeah,
numbers
it
are
very
even
well
higher.
could be. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I really wanted to talk about on today's podcast is really drilling down on some of the resources and some of the things that I think business owners overlook. One of the things that I think jumps out at me is how many times business owners will try to do more than what they're capable of rather than delegating some of it off. And a lot of that is because they can't afford to hire the people. And
Well,
that's a big
you're
issue.
hitting the nail on the head right there, Marcia. I mean, businesses, I think overall, when I look at businesses and why they fail, it's because they're not properly funded or they don't have the resources to be able to get the job done.
Bingo.
And
Mhm.
so you're right, you get stretched thin and you're doing this and that and all of a sudden you're not keeping the main thing, and you're turning into that person that has to wear as a business owner. And I know this firsthand. You're wearing a million different hats,
Mhm.
and that's distracting from the end goal. And so
Mhm.
I know we both have insurance backgrounds. There's a lot of insurance products that can help with this, but there's other things too. I mean, one big thing that um, we've talked about is companies are struggling to make payroll, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
on a weekly or bi-week, whatever it is, however often they do their payroll runs, I think just having that cash flow to be able to do that is a big challenge right now. And the neat part is we have products out there that can help with that,
Mhm.
that can reduce some of that. I mean, I just think of it as this weight that's on top of you of like, oh, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this, all these different things. We have different products that can really help with making payroll and relieve a lot of that burden. What do you think about that, Marcia? I mean,
I yeah, there's we have products. I mean, one of the products that we have is really something we would need to get on a call with a CEO, if you will, and
yeah,
really explain, how to incorporate this program. But the fact that they can put more money in their employees' pocket and put more money in their pocket and offer additional benefits to that employee,
yeah,
there's something to be said, that and I, not to get political, but like even with the removal of tax on tips, if Trump is able to incorporate that, forget the political aspect of it, but I'm
sure.
just saying from a standpoint, if he were to implement that, imagine the quality servers that these restaurants, people would be clamoring to work in these restaurants. Number one problem for restaurants right now is they can't get anybody to work. So
So much of it is staffing. So
it
much of
is.
this world right now, the issues are staffing. You're right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's just like one facet of it. Is just one of the challenges. But the other thing too is that the complaint that I hear is a lot of the employers are saying, I just can't get my employees to come to work. They get a sniffle and they're out. They're not taking really good care of themselves. So, and it's very difficult because with the high cost of health insurance, trying to meet those premiums, and then of course they have the employee that might be paying part of that, and it goes up now, especially if it's a smaller business, and let's say they have 40 employees and they have a couple of them that are siphoning off the lion's share of the payout on those claims for the health insurance. I remember one client telling me that she was pretty much getting let go because I think it was her husband had cancer or something. He was on the plan, and it was like
The
the
premiums are through the roof. Yeah.
yeah, and she was like, I know that's why they're letting me go. And she goes on a, with what I do for work, I guess I kind of almost understand it. So I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but it's just amazing how much goes into the cost of having an employee. So you want that employee to be as close to 100% as you can. And one of the benefits we offer is helping keeping your staff and your workforce healthy and engaged, and being able to take care of themselves, putting a little extra money in their pocket, putting extra money in the employer's pocket, through a variety of, this program is, structured on a win-win situation. So we have that, which I love. I mean, there's nothing harder for an employer to have a staff, but not have the staff show up. You still got to pay everything. You still got to run your business. I mean, as a business owner, nobody understands it better than I, because I go through that.
Yeah, well, and you hire just like I hire employees and staff to make our lives easier and to do a job, and ultimately it's to get a return on that investment of having that employee
Hmm.
have that increase the business cash flow and increase the productivity and all those things. And when you have situations they're not fulfilling their side of the deal, whether that's they're sick or they're not working, that's a big issue. But on the backside, I mean, it just being able to straight up afford them, to afford that investment is a challenge these days. And you look at across the board. I mean, I look at various businesses, and just the cost of everything has gone up. And so if there's less money to be spread out for paying for those employees, that presents challenges. And one of the features that we have both at Blue Wave Financial and Marsha Hawkins Agency is we have some benefits that can really help out those business owners and maximize not only the expense of having that employee, but at the same time give them some great benefits to keep them in the saddle, keep them being productive.
Yeah, another avenue that I brought up yesterday was, the need for disability insurance. But I I like disability insurance, but I think there's a better way to accomplish that. And
Yeah,
it actually doubles as a retirement plan as well. So I was
absolutely.
giving them what the Index Universal Life policy offers. What a great benefit to offer to your employees is to set them up with their own Index Universal Life. A lot of people do get that blanket life insurance policy for like $25,000. But the
Yeah,
problem
the group term or whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
I
but how
mean,
many times do you get a phone call and someone says, "Hey, I just retired and I realized I lost my life insurance and I was really counting on that."
yeah,
And I'm like, "Okay, how many blood thinners are you on?" And I mean,
yeah,
a lot of people at that retirement age are taking copious amounts of medication, and unfortunately, two things buy you health life insurance, and that is your age and your health. It's not the money, it is your age and your health, and void of those, you're going to be paying through the nose. So I mentioned to them yesterday how we could structure an index universal life for them. Talk to the farmer's sister who's still pretty much engaged in this farm financially, and just talk about what that would mean. It the disability benefits that an index universal life policy offers, the life insurance benefit that it offers. But here's what I love. I'm big on the tax-free income. And offering a 401k to your employees, while it's good, you really don't know what you get until you retire. And depending on what the market's done and what the market is doing at that time, and you're going to pay taxes on it. The minute you
you're
pull
gonna pay
that money out,
you're gonna
yeah,
pay taxes on the harvest, not
not
the
the
seed,
seed.
and that's scary
Exactly.
too. So I mean,
Yep. So
yeah,
I love structuring. So I had one client, not the same client, but I had another client in Massachusetts. Snowplow policies for big box stores are, to be honest, massively expensive. They're like 70 grand a year.
okay,
And so my client was saying, that is a lot of coinage for me to have to come up with. And I said, well, I said, what do you do for your retirement? The good news was he was putting like 5 grand away a month
okay, great,
into a CD for his
yeah,
retirement. So I, explained to him and I did an illustration on what that going into an index unit. Now, mind you, he doesn't have life insurance with that. So the money was the money.
yeah,
Um, but that money invested into an index universal life policy as a retirement product, the illustration is designed based off the age that you're going to start tapping into it. But what happens to all that money that's being invested every month into that? It has cash value that you can borrow against. And people say, I have to borrow my own money. It's like, well, if you cancel a CD because you need that money, you're going to pay a penalty on that.
tax, yeah,
So
big
just
tax liability,
yeah,
yeah,
so and yes, exactly. And by drawing it off as a loan, you're not going to pay tax on that money. So I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we structure the Index Universal Life, which was going to give him about $800,000 instantly of life insurance with the $5,000 a month. It might have even been more than that. But at his tapping it out at age 72, which is when he thought he would probably want to start tapping into that, he was going to be able to take $10,000 a month out tax free and still have the death benefit. Obviously, as it drains down, the death benefit gets lower and lower. But we didn't design it around that. We didn't design it around a high death benefit value. It's just because of the high amount going in every month.
sure,
I said, why don't we do that? Then come plow time in October when we have to renew the policy, let's borrow off the Index Universal Life policy. And the fun secret is that money doesn't come out of the money
still
he
grows, yeah.
it comes out of the insurance company's checkbook. And it's still earning, in some cases, 12%. You might be paying 6% on it, tax free money that's going to come out. I mean, talk about beating the insurance company at their own game. You're using their money to pay for the policy. I mean, it
I just
really,
took a loan on one of mine last month, and I'm beating him all day long. I think I'm paying 4% on the loan, but I'm getting back just like what you're saying. I mean, a lot, at least double that. So
right.
it's
So if you, yeah, so you're not, yes,
draining.
you are borrowing the money, but you took it out tax free.
Yeah,
And you're going to be able to utilize that money while you're paying 4%. You're probably, especially now, I mean, I think the market's getting ready to take off. I've been checking all of my stocks, and they're doing great this week. um, but yeah, so I mean, it's just, I think the moral of this whole podcast, Mike, is that what I really want to convey to people is, as a business owner, there are we all can identify what the problem is. I think we get so consumed and overburdened by what the problem is. Most people, I'm not one of them, and I'm not, that's not my ego talking, but when I'm confronted with a problem, I have to figure out what my solutions are, and then I take action on those solutions. Another thing that I've done, that I did a podcast on. There's two podcasts that I did that I probably really really share with people an awful lot. One was called the Rules Podcast, which I have posted up on my website, and it really talks about how some people set goals and so forth. And I don't like to use the word goal. I like to use the word rule, because if you make it a rule, you're much more likely to adhere to it. So while goals, I think, are just, it's an overused term. I like to make, what are my rules for 2025? What are my rules for the next 90 days? What are the rules for the next year? Like what is it that I need to accomplish to deem this year successful? So that's one podcast that I really like that I did. And we're going to do one on that same topic. And then the other one that I really drive home is the one that I do. Um, I'm I'm a planner, and I'm also one that I love to reassess things. I like to look at things and go, how can I do this better? And I think if business owners could adapt that. So, for example, and I'm probably not doing it the way I used to do it before. Is I'd open up my paper bills and I'd look at them and go, okay, where can I save money? And I would do it quarterly, because sometimes I would call it, for example, direct TV, and I would say, okay, this is what I'm paying, too much, how can we get it better? And by the time I got off, I got like 3 months at one cost, which was like $50 cheaper, and then another 3 months at a little bit higher, but still cheaper than what I was paying. And it ended up being like a $250 savings.
Yeah.
The thing that struck me about it was every time I did it, in some cases, I would come up with almost $700 more in my pocket every month. So I am an absolute, I don't know, like a detective, if you will. I love to go through those things and find out how many times do and like Rocket Money, I think they do it where they'll look at your subscriptions and cancel them, but there's a lot of hassle that goes into that. It's a good program, but it's not for me. I'd rather do it myself, because while they'll negotiate a price for you, you have to give them 50% of whatever you save on that. I can save it myself and do it myself. So I've
Sure.
really gotten a habit. And I remember one time my Verizon bill was too high. I was able to get that down by like $100 a month. And I think the biggest one I had ended up being about $1,100 a month that I was saving by just going through some of my bills. As a business owner, I own multiple businesses. So that's probably a lofty amount for most people, but it's because I have multiple, avenues of accounts payable that I have that allows me to look at more, if you will. But
Sure.
I think that, one of the things that if business owners could just kind of take 5 minutes and go, okay, I need someone to go through this with me. I need someone to look at this. Whether, we offer, website development and search engine optimization and help with Google Places and all that stuff. We offer that. We offer the insurance. We offer a multitude of things. But I think what you and I are really good at, Mike, is really drilling down on the challenges that the business owner has, and then being able to come up with a plan for them to um, incorporate goods and services and strategies to improve their bottom line.
I think the more you communicate, the more you think about it, the better it's going to be, and we're good at that. I mean, we can look high level at a business, and we can get into the weeds, and we can figure out where are the efficiencies, that where can there be savings, and
Mhm.
that's a lot of fun for me. I know you enjoy that too, so it's
Yeah, I mean, I do it for myself, and I love showing people how they can save money. I think sometimes it's easier for people to complain about what the problem is rather than draw that energy and put it into the solution side of it. And that's kind of where we come in. We
Yeah.
want to be a solution strategy for a business owner, and it doesn't matter what size the business is. I, without a doubt, can almost guarantee that we would be able to save that business owner, large or small, money on their bottom line, just by looking at things and making sure that they have what they need. And I know people are thinking, oh, yeah, you're an insurance agent. You just want to sell them a ton of insurance. And the reality of it is, I don't. I don't feel like selling things to people that they don't need is a good business strategy for myself. Because what am I going to get? I'm going to get nothing but cancellations. I don't want that reputation. I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. But if you find yourself as a business owner complaining about the cost of everything, well, I want to validate that because things are very costly right now. Unfortunately, most business owners don't know where to look. A lot of times they lay people off that key people that they need. They cut corners. They actually do the opposite of what they should be doing. But I get it. I understand it. It's like if you're trying to make payroll and you're struggling every week, well, let's just get rid of some of the employees. That's not always the answer.
Yeah.
So we just want the opportunity to schedule a Zoom call with, and it doesn't matter where you are in the country, although I'm in Massachusetts and you're in Florida, we can work anywhere. We can work anywhere. So if you're a CEO and have 5,000 employees, or you're a sole prop and you have, well, if you have a sole prop, you don't have employees. But if you have an LLC, meaning that you're not a big corporation, if you
Yeah.
could be an LLC, an S corp, C corp, whatever that happens to be, I can almost guarantee you that a 1 hour, maybe even not that long, Zoom call with us we would be able to really get you on the right track with some information that really could be
Tips and
helpful.
tricks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very specialized and individualized tips and tricks. I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I mean, I know, as an example, one company might have saved, $120,000 a year, which would pay for their HR person,
yeah.
someone working in HR. So there's so many layers to this that it would be too much to go into on a podcast. We've done podcasts about employee benefits before, but this kind of goes a little bit deeper than that, meaning that we want to be a resource for, like I said, goods and services that might be something that they could incorporate and really save that business some money.
I love it.
Awesome. All right. So, our next podcast, I do want to do one about the rules because I think it's a really cool strategy, not only to incorporate for people that own a business, but also for people that are really trying to get their life on track. So, we'll tackle that next week in our podcast on rules. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I'm Marcia Hawkins along with Mike Athis. You've been listening to Elevating with Mike and Marcia. See you soon.